Going to be Vonnie Research Station for game one, and this is another one, ZG, where I'm going to have to lean on you for your wisdom and expertise, because another map that I am a little unfamiliar with.
Definitely one of the maps of the heyday of Heart of the Swarm. So
that would explain why I don't know much about it.
Yeah, at least that's what I remember. 2015, season 1. There you go. Wow. So actually, it was one of the last maps in Heart of the Swarm too, before Legacy of the Void was coming out. I'm not sure if it was used in Legacy of the Void. I don't think it was. But anyways, I got plenty of stories to tell about this map. In the bottom 6 o'clock position, we have the... Ooh, he's using the Brooper thing. We have the Teal Terran Skyler.
And his opponent in the top 12 o'clock position in the red. From Alpha X, it is our Zerg player, Starkiller. I love it when a match starts with a dare, ZombieGrub.
Yeah, it's the best one, right? They're talking about a gold-based... Here it is. There it is. In the middle, the very middle. You would see players like No Regret take this because, of course, he actually took everything as a challenge if there's a gold base.
Sure.
And then you do have that hanging natural that I was kind of trying to explain, so I'm glad we got an example of it, which is that it looks safe, you know, it's behind you, so it looks pretty good, but then you have a lot of space for mutas to fly in, or drops, or what have you, really, so it's a little more complicated than that. And then people actually back in the day were starting to very commonly take the forward base as Zerg to get that creep spread going, which is again a mechanic we haven't had to talk about in a while, but Starkiller won't have as much creep spread doing what he's doing now.
Sure. Do you think it's worth it for him to drop that first tumor to connect his hanging natural and his main, or is it more worth it for him to just, because he's going to be so far behind with that third a little bit later and not so far forward, will it be more worth it for him to drop that first tumor forward and try and start pushing out the creep?
You know, that's a very interesting question, because Heart of the Swarm didn't have A, battlecruiser openers, or B, liberators, like, at all.
Good point.
So, you know, usually you would be like, oh, there's nothing to worry about. There are two things to worry about, and I don't know how Skyler plays. So a battlecruiser opener, if he took a look at this, he might be like, oh, wow. See, hey, look at that. I was right.
He knows this map very well.
Yeah, apparently. He's been flying for a while. Yeah, with those two options, I would be a little scared of not connecting my creep immediately, but then I'd also be scared of not having creep being pushed out. So, I don't know.
You just described the mindset of a Zerg player, CG. Just scared all the time, running on fear and adrenaline. That's what makes them so efficient killers.
This map is very popular for Doom drops because of that hanging natural. There is a very cool game. Fantasy was an awesome player, and he did this thing where EMP is usually an offensive spell, right? It completely negates shield and energy on enemy units. In order to mass Doom drop a natural of a Protoss player effectively, this is back when feedback also one-shot many things.
Oh, yeah.
He EMP'd his own Medivacs, and then did a mass Doom drop. It was
what a baller. That's so cool.
He was straight up baller.
Dang, dude. I've never even thought about that. That's so cool. What a throwback.
That's what I remember from this map, man.
Dang. Well, hopefully we'll get something here with Skyler setting up with a 2 barracks opener into factory, and then hopefully Starport behind this to start cranking out some medevac. Is it just BZG, or are we seeing more 2 and 3 barracks openers the last couple of weeks and months and years? Weeks and months, I guess.
I was like,
I've ever seen before.
Hold on. Yeah, I'm with you. Usually not for TVZ, though. I definitely don't usually see a faster second barracks in this way.
Right.
What he's doing is it's... TY has done it. I know Clem's done it. Terrans do it very rarely, but it is a thing. It basically looks like a regular build, like 111 that is, like a Hellion expand, and then you start to realize, like, where are the Hellions? And it comes into, like, a 530 drop, so it's like... It's kind of like a 211, except not quite. Or is this actually just a 211? Because I actually kind of missed it.
I think it was just a straight 211.
Yeah, I was like, wait, there's no Hellion, so never mind. It's just a straight 211. I feel like he is using it though because he knows the map. He wants to do the drops in the natural, so whatever it was, I still love it. This just means he's gonna hit it 5 minutes, and because he's got his own safe natural, he doesn't have to worry about Ling run bys when the supply depots are down, or anything like that. So I really like this.
Cool, man. It's great to see a player utilizing the map the way it was intended. But Starkiller, also a bit of a less orthodox build than we've seen before. 2 base Spire from our Zerg player, and he should hit hard with these Mutalisks. honestly, it's been the most passive game I've seen in a long time here. No real early game pressure from these players. Both of them setting up for sort of a mid-game surprise. A drop from Skyler, and those mutas out from Starkiller. And Skyler loading up those 2 medevacs and boosting across the map.
It was kind of a common scenario back then, as far as I remember. Like, the 2-on-1 wasn't really a Heart of the Swarm thing, but there were earlier drop builds that you would do, and there was always that question, like, can you hit before the mutas are ready? And is it better that you hit when they're going fast mutas, or worse? Because if you unload, it's better. If you caught midair, it's worse. And it actually just revolved around this exact timing. The mutas aren't quite out, but there are a lot of lings, so Starkiller should be fine. And now Skyler should be just entirely pushed back. So the mutas are going to be out soon. He's
going to flinch, right, and pull back rather than getting that drop down. I think that's probably the right call. There were plenty of lings on the map, but these mutas have gone unscouted as of yet, and they're going to join the fight now. Driving these medevacs back. The Widowmine going to try and get down here. Will get a shot off on the back of the Serving Pack, but none of the mutas down. And the muta's going to clean all of this up. Really nicely done from Starkiller here. Skyler didn't have a chance at defending that.
Nah, unfortunately, well, the thing is, I don't think he actually realized it was a 2-base Spire. He didn't have quite all the information, and that layer timing was, it was typical for other things as well. So if he had known 100%, I think he actually just skedaddles completely. Yeah. But a bit of a question mark, unfortunately, loses both that, not just losing the units, barely saving that 1 medevac, he also lost his momentum, his map control, and now it all goes over to Starkiller, who's going to really have a burst of production and technology before Skyler's 2-base follow-up is effective. And he even grabs that tank. This is really nice for Starkiller.
There are only 10 Marines on the map right now. They do have stim, but they don't have combat shields. They don't have +1 yet. Those mutilas could have gotten a lot more done, but the tank kill, well worth it. And behind this, Starkiller's doing all the right things. He's grabbing his 3rd base, finally getting his own +1/+1 down, and just cranking out more lings, I think, to set up for maybe some offense behind these mutilas. The mutila's going to keep Skyler at home, I assume, for as long as he possibly can. And then Starkiller's just going to try and overrun him, I think.
This is the exact moment where you think, oh, safe natural, and then you go over to, oh, F this natural.
That's how we know the players aren't watching our cast, because if they were, he would have been like, all right, I got to do something else to make sure this natural's safe.
Yeah, well, if this actually goes the way I think it is, like and 8 more mutas on the way, so I think it will. Starkiller is going to get to like 20+ mutas with +1 probably eventually, and there's nothing that Skyler can really do in the natural. This is the Heart of the Swarm map. Widowmines existed back then too, but you basically came to a point where you just hoped to God that 4 Widowmines popped all of the mutas. Otherwise, you had a pretty terrible time defending your bases.
Ugh. I mean, because what are you gonna do? Plant? Well, he's doing exactly what I was gonna say. What are you gonna do? Plant missile turrets left and right in your natural and spend 1,000 minerals making sure the mutilas don't have time to eat through all of them before they can get into your mineral lines. But by then, of course, Lings and Banes are out. Baneling speed about to finish up, and the army supply in favor of Starkiller, as is the worker count here. But Skyler, bless his heart, he's coming across the map and gonna try for a little more pressure.
I feel like you need a country accent on that one.
I went to university. I went to university in Nashville, Tennessee, which you learn that the polite way to tell someone is terrible is to say "bless their heart," and then you can't get in trouble for it.
Oh well, there you go. Bless his little heart.
Oh, picks up and loses a medevac. Bless his heart.
That did not look so good. Yeah, it really is just the pacing of this game went so abruptly into Starkiller's favor once his muta play wasn't punished. Oh, God. That is game-ending damage right there.
Terran players look away, and even an old-school GG there. A nice job from Starkiller, or from Skylers. And Starkiller's going to take game number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And look, CG, it's your favorite map for map number 2.
Is it? Oh, great. I'm so surprised. I know they can't veto it, but I'm so surprised they're picking it for their must-play maps. Game 2, not game 3.
Certainly an odd choice to come up in map number 2 both times, but we'll see. Starkiller doesn't remember mutas being that good back in the day.
Oh, I don't know, mate. Like, everyone talks about Broodlord Infestor, sorry, with Wings of Liberty. Mm-hmm. And no, absolutely, that was OP. But the other thing that made it OP was that not only could they do Broodlord Infestor, they could also do Mass Mutilating Baneling. And both options were scary, and both required very different approaches. If they were going Broodlord Infestor, you pushed them. If they were going the other one, you didn't push them. So you were kind of just like constantly guessing and constantly nervous and constantly anxious. It was a bad time for Terran, man. And then in Heart of the Swarm, mutas became like super good because they got that regen, which they still have.
Right.
I can go on and on about the meta developments, but I won't. point is, we go to Scrap Station. At least this one, I think, is something that I could see Starkiller being like, yes, I'm glad I got this in. Because I do think he's going to have a bit more of a favorable time. But I guess for me, it's really like order of what feels good on this map is maybe Zerg, Terran, Protoss. Maybe Terran, Zerg, Protoss. But
okay.
Protoss is definitely last. So I was a bit confused with Disc appearing on it. This one makes a little more sense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, really quickly here, we know these players, but let's give them a quick shout out before we get into talking about why Scrap Station is so good for these other two races. Spawning at the 3 o'clock position, going for a gas cancel. He thinks he's a Zerg player. It's our Teal Terran player, Skyler.
It does nothing. It just costs him like 17 resources, I think
17, I think it is. I'm not a math guy. 18. 18. Apparently.
We both could have just used the units lost, and instead we tried to do math. What is wrong with us?
That's how we grow, ZombieGrub. We make mistakes, we learn from those mistakes, and we get better as casters, right? Right?
In the top position, we have the Red Zerg Alpha X's Starkiller.
So Starkiller is starting with a hatch first, thank goodness. I was worried he might just like try and 12 pool his way out of this, but it's gonna be hatch gas pool out of Starkiller, so maybe a little more. I'm gonna use giant air quotes here and say maybe a little more standard here in game number 2.
Well, yeah, standard as Scrap Station can be, I suppose.
I was amazed nobody knocked down the rocks last game. I thought for sure we'd see Vindicta pushing across and trying to take that what is it, causeway bridge in the middle of the map here.
Yeah. You know, I can kind of see not doing it in TvP, but I think as a Terran versus Zerg, I think you absolutely break them down. But there are so many other things to be scared of on this map, just because it has a lot of... They weren't really thinking about what best StarCraft was back in the day.
That's true.
With the gas cancel, I was kind of anticipating the 2-1-1, and we do see it being set up here after the command center was thrown down. It's also kind of nice, I guess, because... Well, I guess a factory also would have done the same trick, but... Yeah, I was just thinking about like making sure to wall off. One thing we didn't really talk about was Scrap Station's gigantic wall. Protoss would have a tough time versus Zerg here.
Oh yeah, I seem to recall a couple games here, because again, years and years ago before I was involved professionally in the scene at all, but I seem to recall some wacky walls evolving over time, because you'd have some people who'd come down to like the middle of the map and try and wall off at this one choke point near the high platform. And then I remember some people trying to wall off in the, like using the line of sight blocking zone to like get a wall going there. Just no good options here to protect your natural base with a wall as a Terran or a Protoss player.
Yeah, kind of experimenting with some of those diagonal walls with cannons first. Yeah, it was very, very tough. Definitely one of the worst maps. It's taken the map pool for longer than it should have. I mean, it was in the map pool to a point where like, yeah, people just would never choose it. But doing a 2-1-1 here. Maybe gonna try to abuse that again close by air situation on Scrap Station, and also the mobility, because even though Zerg's the more mobile race, the faster race, even they don't really want to fly across the map to get to their third base. They still need a third base,
right?
But they are a little bit better at it than those poor Protosses. Terrans, back in the day, back when Scrap Station was being used, oh, you had planetaries at this third. Oh, definitely.
Unsurprising.
It was such a bad third. Like, yeah, but not anymore.
I mean, we complain about wide open thirds in the map pool nowadays sometimes, but whew, take a look at this thing. Goodness.
It's tough.
So we do see Hellions. I was gonna say we do see Hellions coming out from Skyler, but no, I thought that was a starport there for a minute. It's actually just a third barrack. So he's going for like a 3-1 or a 2-1 into third barrack. What an unusual build here. Is this something you've seen before, CG?
No, I'm actually a little confused. I've seen some pretty crazy builds back in the day. It used to be like a 7 racks or something that you would do.
Oh, sure.
Racks even, like, but I haven't seen this quite. So you do see 2-1-1s that lead with they don't swap the reactor from the factory to the starport. They go for Hellbats as opposed to more medevacs. But that isn't this either. Like, the lack of starport is really confusing.
Well, there it comes down finally.
Yeah.
But that's going to be so late. Those medevacs won't have nearly enough energy to support the massive number of Marines. And again, Hellbats, maybe if he goes for the armory at some point. But Stim is finished up now. And You just won't be able to stim without those medevacs there. Hellion's going to try and pop into the natural here. Still just 2 base, by the way, from Starkiller at 5 minutes. So no third base for him either yet. But then Hellion's going to get driven away really quickly. Again, we see Lair going down. And with +1 melee attack, I mean, that's got to be 2-base Spire again, right?
I think so, but it's not a 2-base Spire as in like the fastest Spire. It is 2-base Spire as in this map is stupid, and I need to get really late third base. So I'm imagining Starkiller has played on this map as a semi-pro back in the day, because he's handling it very well. This actually would be much like a Wings of Liberty build. The Hellion's might have been a bit of a surprise considering his scouting was just the factory going down, not that it was like on the reactor, I don't think. But if his plan is to do this late of a Hellbat push, not the tricky 0-2-on-1 JK, but just like I'm doing a push later, I don't think it works out very well. Hellbats were kind of experimented with as the form of splash over Widow Mines and tanks for a very tiny amount of time. And basically people were like, it doesn't do enough splash and enough range to, you know, it basically fills almost the same role as a Marine. It also dies the same thing as a Marine. So if you have enough Banelings, you push this back, which isn't quite the same as if they're bringing tanks. So that's what Starkiller needs to do here. He needs to realize a push is on his way. He might need to give up this third base and then just build a heck of a lot of Banelings.
Yeah, I agree completely. Right now, he's got 6 Banelings on the field, working with a lot of Lings right now. The third base is going to be allowed to finish, but oh man, I think you're right. He just doesn't quite have enough Banelings yet. Working on +2 melee attack right now. That won't be in for a while. And okay, there he does. He does get the cancel on that third base. Kill or cancel?
I think it was a cancel.
Cancel. Thank goodness.
He did push off some difficult hooks. I'm actually really surprised he +2 melee over some difficult hooks, even though it wouldn't be done. I still think it would be the better option if this game is going to continue, because you got to assume they're going to continue bringing Marines and Hellbats. He's going to try and clean this up, but it's only going to be the Hellbats for now. The Banelings have to go off creep against Marines with stim, and there's just not enough Banelings left. I think Starkiller just... Yeah, he's just like, what the heck is this push? How was I ever supposed to anticipate this?
Just did not see it coming. I mean, look at his scouting if you have a second. He hasn't seen much in the main base at all. And yeah, this giant pack of Marines going to move forward. Starkiller's going to go ahead and GG out. What a strange game. I feel like I could say this after every single game today, ZombieGrub. But what a strange game here in game number 2. We're going to see a game 3.
Yeah, you know, I was giving kudos to Starkiller kind of playing into what we remember Scrap Station as, but that probably still offset him. He was probably like, well, I can't really take a third, so let me try and like dig deep back into the history of Zerg here. Okay, I did the thing. Oh, shoot, I forgot centrifugal hooks. You know, like I feel like that's what playing on uncomfortable maps do to you. You know, 99% of the time on ladder and tournaments, you remember all these key upgrades, and then playing something weird or at off hours, you know, whatever. Suddenly you're forgetting that upgrade, you got like a lot of great creep spread. Yeah, Starkiller, if he had centrifugal hooks and he had any idea that was on the way, of course, he would have been a lot more prepared, but that was a nice little surprise. The Hellbats did their job, they soaked the Banelings, and the Marines were going to snowball after that.
Yeah, really interesting. This tournament is definitely testing these players, what a psychologist would call plasticity, like how well they can sort of mold their thinking to what's currently happening in front of them. This is just, it's really fascinating to try and watch, you know, because even Starkiller in the chat now, that third base is impossible. Oh yeah, Starkiller, we know.
Yeah.
But yeah, these players really getting tested with how well they can adapt to this. I would be really curious to ask these players how long they studied this map pool before they entered this tournament, because the stakes are fairly low. I mean, it's a $200 prize for the first place winner, which isn't too bad at all. But I wonder how much time they spent prepping for these maps.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, not at all, you know? Like, it's just one of those things you look at and you're like, I kind of remember that map. Then you kind of do the things you remember, which doesn't always work. Looks like we have some loading problems. What's the map?
The map is King Sage on station. Let me try one more time here. We were waiting on Skyler to join in.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can create this lobby again. Sometimes the lobby just doesn't go through, or
exactly.
Who knows? There we go. Yep. Remake very quickly.
So yeah, we haven't seen this map, but this is probably, let me take a quick look again before I say this. I think it's the most popular map.
Gotta be, by far.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, even though the other maps have been played because of the whole, like, problem I was talking about, where there just was, like, the same map over and over again, this was the most popular as in it was still the most played, despite being in many map pools, and it was the most fair, and everyone seemed to like it, aesthetically and game balance-wise.
Yeah, this was definitely one of the maps that was in the heavy rotation when I was following StarCraft more closely before I got into the scene professionally. I recall this being a well-loved map, not just for the naming of the map, but the building and tile set and everything. So it'd be good to see some maps on this, or some games on this map as well. As we get into Game 3 here, King Sejong Station, LE.
LE. I might have time to explain that, but we do see an SCV already on the way. Second SCV is out as well. In the top left, going for a good old-fashioned proxy racks.
Yes.
He is Skyler.
Attaboy. Is this the first proper cheese we've seen in this tournament, CG?
Oh, he's going for 3 racks? Wow.
Is he?
Yes.
Oh my God, he is.
Yeah.
And his opponent in the bottom right-hand side. I'm not sure if that Overlord's going to spot any of these SCVs. I don't think so. In the red, it's from Alpha X, our Zerg player. Starkiller. Getting triple proxy raxed. Woo! No gas.
17-17. He's going to have access to Lings at the very least, even if he doesn't have his direct knowledge of this happening. Sometimes you talk about early pulls and we're like, well, they should be favorable. They're going to have Lings to help tear down the bunker, and then it doesn't quite work out that way.
Sure.
But we'll see what happens. The 3 racks, the actual dedication here. That's going to be tricky. This Overlord might see the Marine. Oh, yeah, he wants to make sure that he can save it while also seeing any of the racks. This is going to go up to all 4 racks.
I was going to say, do you see this? This is not a triple proxy racks anymore. What?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. CG, I don't know if Thunderjunk is in your chat, but he just messaged me in my chat and said the entire station theme for the tournament was started because Starkiller wrote on TL.net that he misses King Sejong Station, and now this is happening to him.
Oh man, but he's accidentally hard countering this. He's getting a roach warren as well. Like at this point, he could actually give up the natural hatchery, no problem. Build roaches and win. Like this should be okay. Sometimes with just Lings it can be a little bit more complicated because you underestimate the power of Marines. But with this, he doesn't quite see that it's a full 4 racks, so he might have different pacing ideas. But he knows he has a roach warren, and that should feel pretty good if he's not supply blocked.
If he's not supply blocked, which hopefully not. He's got one more Overlord about to pop out. He'll be fine, CG. He'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Let's get supply blocked. Just build more spine crawlers. That takes
yeah, I
out
was
your
gonna
supply
say,
block.
like, he can only build so many roaches off that much supply. He's getting 2 and a spine crawler in the main. This is usually more of a blitz style. You know, you build 4 barracks, you're really all in. You have no wall back at home, so you just kind of try and go up the ramp. I'm actually not sure if this is the right call from Skyler to waste time on this natural hatchery.
Yeah, I think he's making a mistake. I agree completely. We see the 4 Lings from Starkiller going into his natural here. Now, Skyler does see it, starts working on those the movement of those SCVs to try and save him. But yeah, he's spending a lot of time picking down this natural, and that's going to allow Starkiller not only to save his main with the spine, get up. He's on 3 roaches already, going to be up to 5 before this happens. 1 queen out, transfuse should be available by the time, this hits. This is looking worse for Skyler than I expected it to. Ling's still alive in his main, by the way, on the other side of the map.
He killed a supply depot, so they're both supply blocked, but difference is Starkiller might have the better units. Now, after a time, there's enough Marines, they'll take down roaches, and actually, we're getting kind of close to that time. But Skyler only able to make a few more Marines, and that's it. He had to salvage the bunker, so he can't build any more of those. I mean,
jeez. 6 SCV kills on the side of the map. A lot of lost mining time. A lot of dead SCVs here. This is destructive, man. These 4 Lings, now down to 2, have stayed alive for so long, and that's going to draw Skyler back to the middle of the map. He can't make any more Marines because he's completely out of minerals right now, and he's pulled the boys to try and make this work. He's 100% all in now, and as long as Starkiller defends this, he's in great shape.
I think got to do it a little bit sooner, man. Like I don't think Skyler can make this work. I was wondering where his minerals were going, and then I realized he was supply blocked. So he's, he just has 4 Marines that are never going to see the light of day. He uses the minerals, I think, that he did have after maybe canceling. Yeah, I think he's canceling Marines right now. To build bunkers to try and contain, but that's
still got him queued up. Yeah, this is strange.
It's still better for Starkiller to be on 1 base here, able to fully saturate, than Skyler, who still isn't building any more SCVs and has actually brought his SCVs here to die.
Drops the salt emote on the ground, the salt spray, out of frustration, I think. But 3 Ravagers here, the Spine Crawler up. This is a ton of Marines here. The Queen is alive. It doesn't have any transfuse energy left, though. But yeah, the Spine Crawler Roach is still going, and Starkiller holds that one pretty easily. GG. And Starkiller is going to move on to face Disc in our qualifying match.
God, I think of any of the matchups for these older maps, PVZ makes me sweat.